Hi guys, welcome back to Baroving Made. As you saw in that video, the table didn't really work out. It had a lot of cracking in it from doing the burning, and I tried to stand on it to make sure it would hold my weight. Didn't work, so we're not going to sell that anymore. But as you saw in the short little screen recording that I did, there's multiple ways you can make profit with pallet wood. And to be honest, I think doing it this method, we can make a hell of a lot more profit. So what we're going to be doing is, well, we're going to be making one of these. This is what that table that I did. I cut it all up and I made a little shelf just like that screen recording on the person on Etsy. So we're going to be doing that, but unfortunately I made this one a bit too small. Let's get cracked on. Let's get cutting up some more pallet wood, and I'll show you through the whole process. So let's quit talking and let's get on to it.
So to make this shelf, we are going to be using between 2 and 3 planks of pallet wood. I'm just running it through the table saw to make sure everything's the same size, nice and square. It's always nice to work with straight material, and it will sit on the wall better as well. It'll be more flush. And then we are going to cut 4 40cm lengths, 4 30cm lengths, 1 10cm and 1 77cm lengths. Those aren't going to be the final dimensions, what we use to put all these together, but it's going to be a good starting point for when we cut these angles. So I set the blade at 25 degrees. I'm cutting all of the parts that are going to sit on the plank on the bottom, and then we're going to cut these at 45 degrees for the mountain peaks and the parts that are going to be sitting up against each other. But you'll be able to see in a second where they all go anyway.
Right, so we've gotten everything all cut out now. I quickly just whizzed through it. Don't worry, I'll include a drawing at the end of the video on all the dimensions and parts you need to make, how many parts you need. But for this project, you'll only need about 2 or 3 planks of actual pallet wood. Obviously depending on the size of the pallet. But here is what it's looking like so far after everything has been cut out. I have given it a quick sand because it is a lot easier to sand it like in the individual bits rather than when you glue it all up together, then have to try and get a sander or hand sand into all these little corners here. So definitely sand it beforehand. Right now we're going to drill some pilot holes in everything, get ready to start screwing and gluing it all together, and then we have to find a way to plug those screw holes, because one of the things I didn't like about this post on Etsy is that you can see, like shitty craftsmanship of leaving screw holes showing in places where it's obvious, seeing the miter joints not being perfect. I don't think my joints are going to be perfect, so I'm not going to bash that. But yeah, we want to get this looking as nice as possible, so we need to figure out a way to hide all the screw holes without just sticking filler in it. So I'm going to have a little think about this off camera, but when I get back on camera, we'll start drilling and screwing and putting everything together. I've got my plan of action. What we are going to be doing is we're going to be splitting this up into 4 different segments. So we're going to be screwing these parts together first. All the peaks we're going to be screwing and gluing together first, and then to make it easier, we're going to join all these together, and then we're going to put the bottom on. Because last time I did this, I tried doing it all like starting from this end, moving over, and it's quite hard to keep track of all the geometry, making sure it all stays aligned and stuff. So after we've done all that, how we are going to plug the holes is one of these little plug cutters. Link down in the description if you want to get your hands on some of these. They're brilliant little tools to use. They're only like a tenner as well, so good thing to have around the workshop. But we're going to be drilling these, and then we're going to be putting these little bitty screws in to make sure everything stays together nice and tight. Those screws you can get from B&Q in a little pick and mix bag. They're only like £4 for a bag, and you can fill a whole bag up with them. So yeah, that's relatively cheap. And so far we've spent nothing on doing this project. The only cost we've had is the fuel in driving to get this pallet. So this is a very cheap project to make, and hopefully we can sell it for quite a bit. But I'm going to quit talking. I'm going to set you up on a time lapse, and we're just going to start drilling, screwing, and gluing. So let's get on to it. Right, everything's dry now. Just got it sat here. I'm going to go around with a chisel, chip all the plugs and stuff out, get everything smooth, give it all a quick sand. We're going to stain it, put a little bit of finish on there, and then we're going to put some of these what do you call them? They're like jagged things, so you can hook them on the wall. We'll just call them hooks for now, so we can put them on the wall and stuff. So I'll set you up on a time lapse. We'll get sorting this thing out and making it look nice. So let's crack on. Right, so I can't find my microphone, so sorry you're gonna have to deal with this audio, but it's the end of the video anyway. But this is the shelf we have made and everything. I've put a few ornaments on there, and I'll throw some pictures up that I've taken to put on Etsy. And I have also taken all the dimensions and everything down on here. This is the cost. I've got the dimensions on the other side, but I'll quickly throw them up on screen around about here. So if you want to pause the video, take them down, have a little gander, you do that. But that's going to be the end of this video. We've gotten everything basically complete. Now in part 2, I'm going to call it part 2 because the first video was a fail. But in part 2, we're going to be actually listing these, doing all that good stuff. I'll record the whole process, and hopefully we can make some good money from selling these little things. So I'll see you in the next video. Have a good one. Subscribe. Goodbye.
Wait, I almost forgot to do the breakdown. So roughly this took about 6 hours to do. In that time I had been taking breaks and doing stuff, so I don't know the exact time it took for me to make this shelf, but it really wasn't that long anyway. So it took about 6 hours, and the costs so far, these costs are just going to be if you're getting into it, because obviously the cost per unit is going to be a lot cheaper. And if you're a beginner trying to figure out what you need to buy and what you need to do, you need to know the general cost of everything. So first of all, we're going to say £5 to go and collect these pallets. Let's say you drove around for a very long time trying to collect them, so you spent £5 in fuel trying to get all that. Now the glue, we used barely any glue in this, so it's probably only a couple of pence per unit, but to buy a bottle of glue, it's roughly about 10 quid. £8, I've seen one of those 500 milliliter bottles from B&Q. But we'll just call it £10 just for argument's sake. The brackets that I used to put on these so you can attach them to the wall and stuff, they cost about £8 as well. The paint was just a cheap can of spray paint, that was £2. Screws, I bought a massive bag of screws for about £5. So altogether, to get into making this, it will cost £43 in material costs, but each unit, I'm going to be conservative and say it's probably about £10 per unit. And the tools needed, if you wanted to get into this, if you've got no tools whatsoever and you're looking to buy all the tools you need to make this project, the tools you will need at the very minimum is the table saw. Now the table saw I have, it has a sliding miter sled, which is what I mostly used on this project. So instead of buying a table saw and a chop saw, you might as well get the table saw that I've got. I'll put it down in the description below. That's £347.98. Brilliant table saw. I really recommend it if you're a beginner. And you'll need just a normal orbital sander, which you don't need the sander really. You could just do hand sanding, but really, who the hell wants to hand sand? So hand sander, roughly about £48. You can shop around and get cheaper ones though, or you can shop around and get nicer ones. I do recommend getting the nicer ones because I've got a cheap one currently and it makes a bloody racket. It vibrates like hell and it's a really pain to use, but the one I bought was £48. Won't put that in the description because I do not recommend my orbital sander. And then you'll just need a router, which You could just use a chisel, but I like using a router instead to mark out all the holes to where you're going to be putting the brackets on. So that's £67.98. So if you're a beginner with zero tools in your workshop, it's going to cost you £463.96. And that sounds like a big number, but when you think about it like this, that person on Etsy was selling each shelf for £120. Even if you sell them for £100 and let's say you knock £20 off, you only have to sell 5 units before you've already made the money back, and the cost of each unit is only roughly about £10 anyway. So, you know, when you think about it like that, it's not so much of a big cost and it's a pretty decent investment. But we're going to see in next video anyway how these things all sell. So to completely start everything from scratch, from buying the material cost, from buying the tools and doing it all, it is going to be £506.96. So yeah, that's the cost breakdown of everything. This has taken us 6 hours to do, and we'll find out how much we make off of this one. I think I'm going to personally list it for £80 just because I've painted it instead of staining it. I painted it because I wasn't quite happy with how the wood looked. As you saw in the video, the wood, it's not very like a rustic sort of looking pallet wood. It had like shades of red and stuff in it, and I wasn't quite sure how that was going to look, so I thought I'd just play it safe and paint it, since I think black would look good in a lot of people's homes. It's a lot more sleek and stuff. But I'm going to chuck it up for £80, see how it sells, and well, I don't know why I'm talking about this. You'll see it in next video. So stick around, subscribe, follow along, and hopefully we can make some money off of these. So I'll see you in a bit. Stick around. Bye.